This is the Limelight, and my name is Prince Apollo. Now, at the beginning of this week, His Excellency the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, issued directives to immediately stop issuance of police bonds and bail by courts and police to criminals. And the President was responding to the rampant cases of theft, especially in villages where thieves are stealing cattle, stealing coffee, and other crimes. And His Excellency the President says these acts of criminality undercut the effect of the initiatives by government to spur development, especially to rural people. And to contextualize these effects of this directive, will be joined by Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana. And Dr. Sewanyana is the founder, but also the executive director for Foundation for Human Rights Initiative, one of those leading organizations in Uganda defending the rights of citizens. Let me connect directly with Dr. Sewanyana. And straight away, Dr. Sewanyana, if you're listening, we would want to hear from you, speak from the legal perspective about this directive and how it may affect the delivery of justice, but also of what effect these directives have to the rights of Ugandans.
Good evening, Paul. Good evening, viewers. The presidential directive to ban police bond or to interfere with the grant of bail is considered a gross travesty of justice. Not only does it amount to an abuse of our legal system, it is completely uncalled for, unjustifiable, and an abuse of power. For you to understand the essence of police bond and the grant of bail, you need to understand our legal system. Uganda has a common law system, and under the common law system, you are presumed innocent until proven guilty, which means that a suspect of whatever crime, whether petty or capital, cannot be judged to be a criminal as such or to be guilty of the offense accused of unless there is due process, what we call due process of the law. Now, once a person has been arrested, we call him or her a suspect. Now, ideally, under normal circumstances, there should be investigations before arrest, meaning that evidence has been collected and it is proper, fitting, and possible to have that person charged before a court of law. So our constitution has made a provision that once a person is arrested, should be brought to court within 48 hours. Now, police bond or the grant of bail in themselves are called procedural safeguards to ensure that injustice doesn't occur. Now, it is an obligation of the police to carry out investigations.
Okay, I am sure we'll connect again with Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, the founder and executive director for the Foundation for Human Rights Initiative, one of those leading civil society organizations defending the rights of Ugandans. And we can continue.
Selectively, aware that they don't have evidence, should be given or should have power to grant a police bond so that this person is actually given the benefit of doubt while investigations take place. So once the evidence has been collected, then the file can be brought, sanctioned by the state attorney, and then the person is brought before a court of law. Now we need to avoid, for example, congestion in police stations. Already there is a lot of congestion and abuse takes place. So the essence here is that the police officer should be given room to decide whether this file should be brought, whether evidence is adequate, other than subjecting this person or this suspect to detention in a police station or bringing this file before adequate evidence has been gathered. Because we don't want superfluous charges being brought against innocent people. So to ban the grant of police bond in itself is an abuse. And secondly, police bond is not being given unilaterally by a police officer. It is based on the law. The Police Act has made provision. Parliament has made provision that, once a police officer is confronted with a situation, should have some room to be able to do the inevitable. But for you to say unilaterally that, I've banned police bond is an abuse of power. There are procedures through which amendments and reforms can take place. If the president is not satisfied with the grant of police bond, as the case may be, he has the power to bring a bill before Parliament, let it be discussed, and then if it's found fit and proper, then the law is amended such that we no longer have police bond. But it cannot be just done unilaterally through a presidential directive. Now, talking about bail, again, once a file has been brought, the person has been sanctioned, has been brought to court, a magistrate or judge, there are certain conditions that must be fulfilled for that judge or magistrate or judicial officer to grant bail. Why bail? One, we know that our prosecutorial system is very weak and ill-resourced. Still, investigations have to be carried on. We also know that our prisons are overcrowded. They are over-congested. So sanctioning a person to go to prison itself must be a matter of last resort, because it takes ages for the courts to determine a person's, possibility, whether he or she committed a crime or not. In some cases take 6, 5, 10 years to be decided upon. Now you can imagine the extent of injustice perpetrated against that individual just because the power of the judicial office has been removed to grant bail. So in some cases, when bail is applied for, the judicial officer imposes conditions and ensures that those conditions are met before bail is actually granted. The same thing with the police bond. Just to make sure that we don't keep on sending people to prison unnecessarily. It doesn't mean that once a person is suspected of having committed a crime, is actually already a criminal. Indeed, must be given a benefit of doubt. So that is why we find the presidential directive to grant police bond, all bail to be denied, again, a misdirection and an abuse of his power. He has every right to bring a bill to be discussed, and of course, these procedures must be made. Again, we need also to emphasize to Ugandans, because sometimes there's a misconception that once a person is granted police bond or granted bail, he or she is no longer considered a suspect or is not subjected to trial proceedings. The truth is that person has not been acquitted. That person is still undergoing criminal proceedings. And if that is the case, he's not being acquitted. He's still being given some sort of degree of benefit of doubt in order to ensure or uphold the rights of that suspect. So we do consider the directive not only misdirection and abuse, but an affront and a travesty to justice.
Dr. Sewanyana, let's specifically speak about the police bond. And according to the president, he insists that this is meant to avoid or to respond to the soft approaches by police in handling of criminals. And I don't know what you can give as a recommendation. If, of course, the criminals have been always, if once they are arrested, they are then later released. And he actually says it is also meant to protect them from maybe being harmed by the people in communities. What can you say about that? Couldn't the president maybe trying to fix a problem that has been happening?
They have to determine whether this particular...
Yeah, we still have Dr. Sewanyana speaking about directive that was delivered during the New Year address when His Excellency the President issued a ban on police bond, but also on court granting bail to criminals, especially those village thieves who steal cattle, who steal coffee, and of course undercut efforts by government to uplift people from poverty. I would wish to again connect with Dr. Sewanyana, and he makes some recommendations on what can be done, because in his address, the president made it clear that he has already directed the judiciary through the Chief Justice to ensure that actually these directives be effected. And pundits from all sides are saying this cannot work, and actually legal experts are also contesting that this is an illegality, it's a violation of people's rights and all those other issues. And that is why we wanted to hear from Dr. Sewanyana, especially on recommendations. What then can be done? And actually, another question is, now that the president has issued directives, can his directives be challenged, and how can they be challenged? Is it through courts of law, or possibly Parliament can step in and do something? Well, I don't know if we can connect again with Dr. Sewanyana, but we would now want to know what recommendations, especially after the directives have been issued, what can be done, and which way to take after the judiciary has received these directives. Well, Dr. Sewanyana, if you're listening, can you give us your recommendations, or after these directives have been issued, what can be done now? I think
the president needs to be advised otherwise, that what he issued is actually unacceptable and lawful. He should be advised that if he wants that situation to obtain, he should actually bring a bill before Parliament and let the matter be discussed, whether in regard to bail or police bond. The other one is, of course, to reinforce the police, to ensure that it has the capacity to investigate. If it can investigate before arrest, or it can investigate expeditiously within the 48 hours, then it is acceptable. But without that, I think there will be many people who become victims of abuse just because of this directive. But also, he needs also to put more emphasis on fighting corruption. The situations he tries to address are really brought or a product of corruption within the system. If there is no corruption in the system, I do not see any reason why one would doubt the grant of a police bond or bail. So I would recommend those measures to be taken before issuing arbitrary directives.
For your time, and of course speaking to our viewers about the directives that have been issued. Well, I don't know if you talked about Parliament, whether it can make any or it can pronounce itself on this matter. But if you can do, please, can Parliament play a role in this, or the judiciary can also do something about it?
Of course, Parliament under Article 79 of the Constitution has been empowered to make laws in Uganda and to ensure democratic governance. This is an issue they should not be silent about. They should actually pick it up, have it debated, and advise the president accordingly. Because without that, then it also undermines the role of Parliament. With regard to the judiciary, they must also safeguard, they must safeguard their role. They cannot just simply look on when undue interference is taking place on the powers of judicial officers. Judicial officers, by their very nature, they are very well trained and they understand why a bail should be granted and under what circumstances and what purpose it serves. So I think the judiciary should be alive to the necessity for it to be strong, to stand firm, and to do what is expected of it under the law. Any deviations can only be acceptable once the constitutional guarantees are removed. And that is the role of Parliament, and citizens must also speak out because it affects them. Today it is me, tomorrow it is you. And as such, no one becomes safe under such unacceptable.
Well, Dr. Sewanyana, finally from me, can me as a citizen do something? Can I go to court to challenge a presidential directive? Can I play a role after issuance of these directives?
I think as a citizen, you only have to speak out. You can reach out to your member of parliament, let the member of parliament speak out, stand up, because presidential directives in essence tend to become decrees. And as you know, the president is immune to criminal proceedings while he's in office, although he's not above the law. So normally with presidential directive, the only approach is for the institutions that have been charged with the power to ensure justice to take their rightful position. And in this case, it is Parliament and also the judiciary. And as a citizen, try to reach out to those institutions to make sure that they do what is necessary.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, the founder and executive director, Foundation for Human Rights Initiative, and of course for that insightful opinion on this important matter. We wait to see how it works out. Well, the recommendations have been made, and we wait to see who can move to, of course, make it right. My name is Prince Apollo. Let's catch up again in the next edition of the Limelight. But from here, we'll be going into Emisinji with Pastor Aloysius Bujingo, but later on, we'll connect directly with Canaan Land, where there is the first overnight of 2025. And of course, it's still a new year. I can say Happy New Year, God bless you, and God bless Uganda.